Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Young. I work on the Contour team at VMware. We make an ingress controller that uses Envoy. I've got 5 minutes only, so I'm going to absolutely smash through this. Please come and see me afterwards if you have questions. Okay, the name of the talk is Living on the Edge of Your Cluster, because that's what Contour is all about, is getting traffic from outside your cluster to inside. So, what is Contour? It is an ingress controller, like I said. There's the website. The big thing that it does is it translates between Kubernetes objects and XDS. It's basically a translation layer for either ingress, or we have our own CRD called HTTP proxy that lets you configure Envoy effectively using Kubernetes objects. And then because of this, it effectively works at the edge of the cluster to take traffic from outside your cluster and route it inside your cluster using Envoy. Now, this is pretty different from the mesh case in that the Envoys are heaps longer lived than any individual service, and so are the XDS connections. And the other one is that a larger number of connections is shared like across a single Envoy to multiple services. And so because of that, some of the defaults that are good for the mesh case are not so good for us. So these are the things that we learned. Like I said, some settings need tuning for edge proxy use. Being careful about connection draining is far more important when you've got long-lived proxies that are processing a lot of different connections. And leaving your TCP sessions running for a long time can have some big caveats that can be really weird. Okay, so Envoy's got lots of buffers. Yes, there are a few 80s hair metal references in there. Please spot them and enjoy. We started from, there was an Envoy pull request from Piotr, number 8001, thank you very much. That was a really great starting point for us to sort of see some of the things that we needed to think about. We set all of the listener buffers, cluster buffer limits, all of the soft limits to 32 kilobytes rather than the larger size because you're sharing more connections through a single proxy. We tuned a bunch of the timeouts. You can see them all there. It did take me a while to sort of parse which timeouts were which in a slightly different context to the service mesh context, but I drew a diagram for myself and it was very helpful. And so I'm pretty sure we've come close to reasonable defaults, and we've sort of exposed little knobs for people to mess with their Contour configuration to be able to twiddle those if they need to. The HTTP protocol options were important. What else have we got? An important one is, for our use case, we can't use the overload manager because there's not a real sensible value for the max heap size. And so, we're still sort of figuring out how we might do something about that. Okay, so, we built this horrifying bash command to run in a pre-stop hook in our Envoy pods that basically just, posts to the health check thing as a pre-stop hook, and you just kind of hope maybe that'll be enough to drain connections in time. It's not great, and we are looking to do something a bit more advanced like this, where we hit the endpoint and then block the pre-stop hook while we wait for everything to actually drain by checking the stats, and then shut down the pre-stop hook and let the Envoy terminate. That should give people a possibility to do a proper rolling Envoy upgrade. When you're doing this, again, this only comes up because these Envoys are very long-lived compared to the services behind them. This one was really weird. We really did have a failure to communicate. We had real weird problem reports where Envoy would just stop receiving updates from Contour. And we were like pulling our hair out, being like, what is going on? We just couldn't find the cause of it. And what it turned out was that they were using a CNI plugin that would drop long-running idle TCP connections. In the case of the Envoy to Contour gRPC connection, if there were no config changes happening, then that is an idle TCP connection. And so sometimes the CNI would just be like, hey, I don't need that anymore. Off you go. And what then happens is the connection gets stuck in a half-closed state on the Envoy side, and so Envoy can never connect back to the XDS to be able to get updates to fix itself. And so it would be stuck in a situation where you had to restart it. Turned out, really simple problem, add TCP keepalives. Then it's no longer idle, this problem just goes away. But a really good example of how when your Envoys are not coterminous with the services behind them, you can get problems that you just don't see in the service mesh case. So things to remember. 30 seconds left, awesome. Envoy settings need tuning for edge proxy use. Please feel free to come and see me. I can talk to you in great depth that I just literally had no time for. But yeah, a bunch of them sort of just need twiddling. Be careful about connection draining. Obviously, with long-running proxies, you've got to be really careful that you don't screw people by dropping their connections out from under them just because you're rotating something on the back end. And yeah, lastly, long-running TCP sessions have caveats. Use keepalives. We actually added gRPC keepalives from the Contour side as well to make sure that we got both sides covered. So, you know, there's no way that that situation can come up anymore. Okay, that's the content of the talk. I am at 0 seconds. Here is more information. Please come and find me today or anywhere else in the conference, and head to projectcontour.io, find us on Slack, all that usual sort of stuff. And also, we're having a community lunch tomorrow, so if you want to come and talk to us about any weird stuff we've done with Envoy, please feel free. We'll be over in KubeCon. Thanks very much.